And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Cheap Ludes, and I'm back with another video, man. So we're starting our series of tier lists today that we do at the end of every single month. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe, dude. Drop a like on this video. Comment down below what you think of the list after the video. It's not going to be too long, I promise. So let's start some parameters here. S tier, unquestionable best cards of the game. They could do a little bit of everything. There's no one better. A tier, very, very good cards. They also do a little bit of everything, just not as good as the S tier guys. B tier guys, well-rounded, extremely well-rounded cards, not quite as good as A and S tier, or they're cards that were at the top echelon a little bit ago, but are just a bit outdated, but can still do a little bit of everything. C tier, specialist guys, they do 2 or 3 things really well. D tier, super specialist guys, they do 1 or 2 things really, really well, or 1 or 2 game modes. I do factor in game modes, which I'll talk about. F tier guys, you can just do better than these guys. They're not necessarily wrong or anything, but hey, it is what it is. So before we get started, some more parameters. A, I am not an oracle, alright? I do these based on multiple playstyles, so I try to be as unbiased as possible, but bias does slip in on these these tier lists. So if a card you like is not in the correct tier, jump in the comments and let me know what you think the tier that card should be in. Other than that, I try to factor in multiple game modes as well, so if a card is extremely good in like a triple threat type of scenario or like a limited run, that will factor into its ranking as well. But I'm not crazy. I'm not going to put like a Sapphire Cole Anthony in S tier just because he's really good in triple threat offline. That makes sense. So with that being said, let's get underway. Start off with a bang. Baron Davis, A tier. Don't think he's quite good enough to be an S tier. I just think that there's a couple guys that deserve to be an S tier more than him. He's a really good offensive card, but at the same time, I don't think he's really S tier worthy. Sapphire Allen Iverson, low end D tier. He's good for a couple game modes, and at the Sapphire tier, he's one of the better point guard options that we have. Plus he's AI, man. I can never put AI in F tier. It's not possible. BJ Armstrong, great 3-point sniper, but he doesn't bring enough to the table to really warrant going up to C tier or B. He fulfills his point guard duties and he shoots threes. That's it. Bob Cousy. Say Bob Cousy's C tier. He's just a bit outdated. He's solid though, but I don't really ever see him anymore. So Charlie Ward, he's good, but he's like a worse version of like what BJ Armstrong does. Chris Paul. Chris Paul's B tier. Extremely well-rounded point guard. He does everything pretty well. Knocks on him would be that he's a little small and he has kind of a slow jump shot, but he's still one of the premier amethyst point guard options, and for my money, I'd run him over Bob Cousy any day. Cole Anthony. I like this Cole Anthony, but I'm realistic here. He's really, really good for triple threat and for Sapphire limited challenges, but at the same time, like, he's not as good as Bob Cousy, like, realistically. Ricky Rubio, C tier. It's like a worse version of what Chris Paul does. Spud Webb. I mean, it's Spud Webb, so there's like, he's got a really easy to time jump shot. I like him, but at the end of the day, like, he's an outdated card and he's 5'6". Can't really like co-sign that. Alright, Colin Sexton. I think he's A tier as well. He's really, really good. I don't think he's quite S tier good, but I would say he's about as good, if not a little bit better than Baron Davis. Just depends on your playstyle and how you feel about the jumpers. Diamond Lillard. Can't play a lick of defense, but he plays really good offense, so C tier seems appropriate. If you think I'm breezing through these cards and not explaining a lot of them, that's because I have 108 point guards to get through, and I don't want this to be a 2.5-hour video. So, now you know. Opal Dame. S. I think he's S tier. He's just more well-rounded Baron Davis. You could argue that you think Colin Sexton's better than him. You could argue Damian Lillard should be an A tier. He may even drop down to A tier, but for now I think he's still better than both the guys in A tier, so he deserves to be an S tier. Damon Stoudemire. Fully evoed, he's a really good defensive card. He's a little small, but he can shoot, attack the rim, facilitate, play defense. Outdated, but still solid. Dana Barros. He's 5'11". He shoots the ball extremely well. He's got like gold range extender and stuff. Pretty easy to time jump shot, but he's a little bit small. And there's going to be a bunch of dudes in C tier that are just really good shooters. And I don't think he's quite at that tier. One of those guys being Daniel Gibson, who deserves to be in C tier. I'd put him up here because I think he's like, I'd play him over Bob Cousy personally, but that's like a personal thing, and I don't think many people share that stance. Dave Bing. I mean, C tier. He's outdated, but he's not terrible. Like, I would probably use all the cards in C tier over him, but I would use him over all the cards in D tier. Magic Johnson. I'm going to wait on Magic, but I think De'Aaron Fox is B tier. He's still got a really, really nice player build. He's really fast. He does everything pretty well. His jump shot's really the only issue, and his jumper's fine, but he lacks some shooting badges. But you can always add those to him, but I try not to factor in like what a card could be if you spent $200K upgrading his badges into the ranking, like, because it's just kind of counterproductive. So Magic, I would say he's C tier, but the thing is he has this weird type of hitch in his like running animation where he just starts Scooby-Doo running randomly, and he just like is sluggish. He takes forever to start getting going. He lacks some pivotal badges, but he's still got a really nice player build. I think C tier kind of makes sense for him, but he is subject to drop into D tier at any point. I do not like this card. D Brown. D Brown's a really, really good Ruby point guard. That is why he's in C tier. He can shoot, he can attack the basket, he dunks really hard, he's great for limited challenges, great for TT offline. I don't think there's much you can say about him negative. Kemba. I'm going to hold off on Kemba because he's tough to rank. Ruby Chris Paul is C tier. He's just a badge-wise and stat-wise worse version of this one. C tier makes sense for him. Dennis Johnson, D. He plays lights out, lockdown defense, and that's it. Mo Williams, great shooter, but that's about it. Like I said, like with Dano Barros, there's guys that are better shooters that deserve to be up here. Like, I try to keep the guys that are all similar next to each other. Like Daniel Gibson, Mo Williams deserve to be right next to each other. Guys who are great on offense, no defense, well-rounded guys, etc. Trae Young, I hate Trae Young. Sorry, Wildmont, if you're watching this. I hate Trae Young, bro. I can't do it. I can't do it. I just think that, personally, Mo Williams and Daniel Gibson are better, so that's why he's in D tier. World Be Free is solid. I've warmed up to this card a lot, but he still doesn't deserve to go any higher than D tier. Derek Fisher. Derek Fisher's right here, too. Pretty decently well-rounded card. He's just outdated at this point. Chauncey Billups. That's a tough card to rank as well. Tony Parker goes C tier. He's not that good. He's like the lowest C tier card, but he's there. These two cards are really hard to rank because one is incredibly good. I'll put Chauncey in B tier. He's really good defensively as a slow jump shot, but he can operate as your point guard. He can attack the basket a little bit. He's not going to dunk the ball, but he can attack the basket. He's got some decent layup and rim running badges. He just has that slow jump shot, but other than that, he's okay. Kemba probably deserves to go B tier as well. He's a really good offensive card, just doesn't really play any defense, but all those badges can be added. So that has to speak for something. And, I mean, honestly, personally, I'd probably use Daniel Gibson over Kemba, but that's because I'm insane. Kemba, 99.9% of people would probably use Kemba Walker. Terrell Brandon, I don't like. He's small and outdated, so D. This Derrick Rose is still somewhat usable, but he's D tier. He's not as good as the guys in C tier. Like, personally, I'd take him over Tony Parker, but, like, generally speaking, Tony Parker's better. Jason Kidd is B tier. You could even argue he's A tier. I know some people really, really like him. I think I was watching a Ty Debo video once where he said one of the comp players he knows likes to use Jason Kidd because it limits the amount of bad shots he takes, which honestly makes a lot of sense. I actually really like that logic, to be completely honest with you. But At the same time, I don't think he's an A tier just because of that jump shot, but you could argue he is. Other than that, he's lights out at everything else. He's a really good point guard, really fast, big size, nice wingspan, facilitates better than most point guards. I think the only thing that keeps him out of A tier with like Sexton and Baron Davis is just that jumper, but that can all be subjective. Stephon Marbury's not great, but he's okay. It's a tier. LaMelo, he's big size. Like, I can't put Magic Johnson down in or up in C tier and then keep LaMelo out of it. So Derrick Rose, A tier. I mean, he's taken a step back from what he was, but he's still an incredibly good point guard. And bonus points, you can get him for under 100K now. You shouldn't, but you can. Doc Rivers. D. He's just outdated. Dude, it's from the Playoff Dimers set. Came out in, like, November. Steve Francis. C tier. Him and Ricky Rubio are still pretty good. You're going to need to do some badge upgrades on them, but they're still worthwhile. Earl Monroe. Yeah, probably F tier. I just don't think there's any use for him. That's just kind of my main point. Like, I'd probably, like, if I had to play a competitive setting, which, like, I'm not a competitive player, by the way, but if I had to, I don't know if I'd use Earl Monroe over any of the guys in D tier. Like, if it really came down to that, just for my play style, you could say he deserves to be in D tier. He might move up. We'll see. This is a controversial one. I think Kyrie's S tier. I don't know, a lot of people probably aren't going to like that one, and it could just be recency bias, but he's one of the most complete point guards in this entire game. He does everything well. Straight out of the pack, he's badged up to the point where you don't have to give him a single badge. He has everything you need. He's good at everything. His small size, some people don't like his jump shot. I'm not too sure. Like, I'm not that great of a dribbler, so some of the dribble gods may not like him that much, but just for your average player, Kyrie's an S tier point guard. He instantly makes your team better just by joining it. Doesn't matter who you have at point guard. Fat Lever's probably F. Probably move Earl Monroe up to D. Fat Lever down here. Earl Monroe at least has, like, size. Another controversial one, I think Steph's B tier at this point. I just don't really think he's up on that A tier level with those guys. Personally, for my playstyle, I would probably use Jason Kidd over Steph. I'm just not a huge Steph fan, which is weird because I love Rudy Fernandez. But I like my point guard to be more of a facilitator and to attack the basket more so than to three-point hunt or something like that. So, but he's still a B tier card. He's just a little bit outdated at this point. If you have him fully badged, you know, if you have this man with like 15 Hoff badges or something at this point, like, yeah, he's an A tier. But for the majority of people, he's a B tier guy. You don't have to lose sleep because you missed out on him. He's an outdated point guard at this point. So, Freddie Lewis. I like Freddie Lewis, but he's probably it. No, he's D tier. He's got a nice badge count. No hot zones, but solid badge count. Scott Skiles is C tier, man. He's like a worse Chris Paul. Like, I promise. He's even, I would say he's better than the Ruby Chris Paul. Scott Skiles is actually pretty decent, man. He's got the same jump shot, too. Same with Van Vliet. Van Vliet's pretty good, too. Plays great defense, can shoot the ball. Little small, and his shot's a little weird, but it's not much more I can say. Patty Mills, probably D tier. He's just outdated, but he's got base 98, and he shoots well. So, he's fast. Another one that I think is a bit controversial is probably Gary Payton in S tier. I think he deserves to be up there. He's incredibly well-rounded. He's the best defensive point guard in the game. Great defensive animations. His jump shot, I like it a lot. He's the complete package at point guard. You could argue that he, just because he's mostly a defensive specialist, he deserves to be down in A tier, but I think he's good enough offensively that S tier makes sense for him, if that rationale kind of makes sense at all. George Hill, still a good Sapphire, D tier. Michael Carter-Williams, once again, don't know if this one's going to land, but B tier, I think. I'm an NCW stan. I have been since he was a rookie, so that could have something to do with it. If you argue that he's a C tier guy, I'm not going to fight you on it. Terry Rozier, I mean, like Patty Mills, he can shoot. That's about it. John Wall, I don't really like John Wall, but I guess he's B tier. He's still lethal at attacking the rim. He plays good defense. He can shoot a little bit. He can facilitate. He makes sense for B tier. I don't think he's necessarily that much worse than like a De'Aaron Fox. or if he even is worse than De'Aaron Fox, you know. Sleepy Floyd, he's outdated, but he's still C tier. It's good. Tony Wroten, C tier. He's like a worse version of Michael Carter Williams, which is funny because that's exactly what he was in real life too. Tony Wroten literally filled in for MCW when he was injured, played the exact same, and then they just kicked him to the curb and kept Wroten, who did exactly the same thing as Michael Carter Williams. He even flamed out just as fast, so Gary Payton Ruby. Plays good defense, D tier. Trae Young. This Trae Young's better. Just because he lowers your overall a little bit. That's all I gotta say about that. I don't know, man. I'm not a huge fan of Trae Young, if you can't tell. Nate Archibald, I mean, he's small. Probably C or D tier. I don't know much about this card, to be honest with you. I haven't got him. I have never played with him. He can Evo, though. Let's put him in D tier, or C tier. He's alright. He's just small. John Stockton's B. He's B tier. I don't think he's A tier anymore. It's just outdated. Ray Alston, same deal. One of my favorite cards this year. Still B tier, but outdated nonetheless. Ty Lawson, C tier. He's like a much better version of Dana Barros. Basically, wherever he's at, yeah. 5'11", small, pretty quick jump shot, juice stats. Good card, but definitely not in the long run. Goran Dragic, he was fun for a little bit, but yeah. Amethyst Kyrie, C tier. Usable offensive guy. Gus Williams, Patrick Beverly, F tier. Gilbert Arenas, I'd say a C tier as well. I don't think he's B tier. I think he's kind of edged out. I like him more than a lot of people do, though. Hate Mike Bibby, dude. Tim Hardaway, I mean, I don't know, C tier. Bang average. I don't know. Jamal Murray, yeah, probably no. B tier. I think he's like upper B tier. I slept on this card for a while, and I kind of regret it. He's actually really, really good. He's very well-rounded. He does basically everything well, just not to the point these guys do. JoJo White, I think he's still B tier. He's the lower end of B tier with, like, you know, Chauncey Billups and Kemba Walker and John Wall, but he's still there, I think. IT, D. This IT is tough to rank. I'd say C tier, man. It's just a little too small to really be that effective. He's fun to use, do not get me wrong, but at the same time, being as small as he is, it's hard to combat a lot of these guys. Now, like, stats and badges wise, is he better than like Ray Alston or John Stockton? Yeah. But it's the intangibles, player build, animation, stuff like that, that kind of keep him out of B tier. Like, MCW is going to kill him for the most part just because of how small he is. It's not his fault, man. Rod Strickland, D tier. He can do some stuff. Trey Burke, D tier. It's fun for triple threat. Oscar Robertson, I'd say S tier. I'm going to catch flack for that one too, but he's so good. I just, honestly, I don't care. Michael Ray Richardson, he plays lockdown defense, D, whatever. Penny Hardaway, C tier. Same, opposite situation from Isaiah Thomas. He has all the size in the world, but his badges and stats just aren't up there at this point. That's, I don't know. That's just how I feel. IT, outdated, but C tier. This one's going to be not taken well, but I think Jameer Nelson's A tier. He's really stacked on badges and stats. His jump shot is solid too. Like, there's not much about this card that's bad. He's a very, very good card. He does pretty much everything well. He's got a smaller player build, which I can see that being an issue. He's 6 foot with a 6'2 wingspan. That's not great, but he has hot zones everywhere. 96 three-pointer with jump shot 49, which is J.R. Smith's. So JR has a nice jump shot. Same as like Tim Hardaway Jr. I think has it too. I think like someone random has it, like Desmond Mason, I think. Either way, the uppers, I don't even know what upper he has. I think he has like a big man upper. Either way, solid card all around. There's nothing wrong with the card. I think his driving dunk is the only issue that I have with it and his size, but he's lower end A tier. He might even drop to B tier. Diamond Gary Payton's probably D tier at this point. He's not that much better. He's better, but not that much better than the Ruby one. I don't think he's really up in C tier at this point. Like, I would take Tony Roten over him. Jarrett Jack. Yeah, no, and the people are not going to like this one, but I think he's like B tier. Jarrett Jack's really good. He is so good. This Jason Kidd, probably C tier. Outdated. Everything I said about this one applies to this one in diamond form, but he's just really outdated. Jason Williams, probably C tier, in all honesty. Nah, you know what? Jason Williams is better than Kemba. I don't care. Slander me in the comments, but Kemba's C tier. I don't care. Jason Williams is better. Steve Nash. Like, Kemba's... These guys are up in C tier. Like, they are the high C tier guys. Steve Nash is just outdated. Still okay, though. Ben Simmons. You could argue so many different places for this Ben Simmons card, but A tier, maybe. I mean, I think he's leaps and bounds above a lot of these guys down in B tier. Just for player build, animation, size, badges. He is the best defensive point guard in the game, without a question of a doubt. The only thing holding him back is he can't shoot threes, but he can shoot the midi. I think low end A tier. You can't be that much worse or better than Jameer Nelson. They're different. Jay Williams, low C tier. B tier, doesn't really play defense. Mark Price, he can shoot, that's about it. Mark Jackson, just better options. Jerry West, C tier. Nasty Nate, D tier. Darren Williams, I think he's outdated, but he's still B tier with like Rafer Alston and John Stockton in the washed up, outdated guy section over here with like Chauncey and JoJo White. Like, they're all still usable. They're just getting to the point where they're outdated, but they're not there yet, you know? And then the Young Bucks section. Russell Westbrook, probably C tier. Similar to Penny Hardaway. He plays a little bit better defense, but he doesn't have the same player build, so. Robert Pack, D. Steph, D. This Stephon Marbury, D. I'm like the only person who thinks this, I think, but I literally think this Amethyst one is better wherever he is. Truly believe that. John Morant, C tier. Great offensive player, terrible defensive player. Drew Holiday, I think he's probably B tier, along with the other Amethyst guys, and Jarrett Jack apparently. Who, that's a personal opinion. Like, don't take that one too serious. He's probably realistically down in C tier, but I would actually take Jarrett Jack over like Kemba Walker, Russ, Isaiah Thomas, Penny. Like, I take him over all those guys. Kenny Anderson, F tier, not great. Kenny Smith, other Kenny, D. He can still shoot. Kyle Lowry, it's past your time, man, but you're still fun. D tier. Diamond Kyrie, once again, just one of the outdated point guards from season 1 and 2. That just, they don't have it anymore, but they're still not terrible at all. LaMelo, wherever these big guys are. Let's see. Barbosa, is D. Really good Emerald, but that's about it. Lonzo Ball. I'd say C tier for Lonzo Ball. He's really good. He's got great size. He's great defensive card. He steals the ball at a really high clip for some reason. I don't really understand why he steals the ball so much, because his tendencies aren't that good, his stats aren't that good, and his badges aren't that good. But he just rips the ball from people. It makes no sense, but C tier makes sense for him, realistically. Luka Doncic. I'd say B tier for Luka. The Moments Luka's actually pretty good. He's got Zion jump shot. He's got really good size at the point guard. 6'7" at the point guard. The only issue he has is he's a little bit slow, but it's not really that big of a deal. He does have, like I said, one of the best jump shots in the game on current gen. On next gen, his ranking may vary a little bit, but I still think he's B tier on both gens, personally. I don't really think there's too much you can argue about that. He's just a very good point guard. similar to like Jamal Murray. Badge count's a little low, but whatever. Walt Frazier, super well-rounded, good point guard. You don't really run into him too much anymore, or ever. People really slept on this card, but he is actually pretty good. He plays great defense, facilitates. He can shoot, he can do a little bit of everything. I might drop a couple people down into C tier, but B tier is looking, in my opinion, about correct, so. Which I'm sure if anybody were to watch this, he's like an actual like content creator, they would slander this list, but I don't really care. Especially this pick, Magic Johnson, A tier. Similar to Ben Simmons. Magic's better offensively, Ben Simmons is better defensively. They deserve to be right next to each other. Both big point guards. I hate Magic's jump shot, but I understand people love it. So, can't really argue too much on that one. I prefer, if you guys were wondering, I would prefer Ben Simmons over Magic, personally. Like last year, I used Ben Simmons over GOAT Magic. I just like Ben Simmons a little bit more. Markelle Fultz, probably C tier. Like, I don't think he's B tier. His card must have gotten nerfed because he just feels slow. He doesn't hit as many whites. I don't really know what happened to his card because I was loving this card. I thought it was like the best Ruby ever for a little bit. But realistically, I don't know. Something must have happened to him. I just think, you know, I'd probably put him in B tier. He's still pretty good. And in the grand scheme of things, I would use him over all the guys in C tier. I don't know necessarily how biased I am on Markelle Fultz. You could argue he's down in C tier. I'll put him in B tier just because I actually truly believe I would use him over all of these guys. That's just me. Maybe IT would be the only one I would consider using over Fultz, if that makes sense. Mo Cheeks plays defense. Still good for limited runs. That's about it. Yeah, fuck Nick Van Exel. Forever, dude. There's some beef there. Don't worry about it. And then Diamond Big O. I would say Diamond Big O is by Magic, LaMelo. Just some big point guards that can go out and score for you occasionally. Realistically, I need to make a tier that's in the middle of C and D tier. Or just expand it a little bit when I do this next time, because some of the guys in C tier like are significantly better than some of the other guys in C tier, if that makes sense. So I think I'm going to add an additional tier next time I do these if I keep the same amount of players. So anyways, let's go a quick run through. We got Damian Lillard, Kyrie, Gary Payton, Big O, and S tier. You could argue any of those guys should be lower. I personally think they're all complete enough players that they make the parameters of S tier, but you know, jump in the comments if you don't believe so. Jump in the comments if you believe some of the A tier guys deserve to go up. Baron Davis, Colin, Derek, Magic, Ben Simmons, Jameer Nelson. All really good cards. They do like 4 or 5 of the main things that you want them to do really, really well. They are just lacking in one area that makes them not a complete S tier card. If you want me to list them off, Baron Davis defense could work. Colin, same as Baron Davis realistically. Derrick Rose shooting could improve a little bit. Magic shooting and defense could improve. Ben Simmons, he could have a 3-ball. Jameer Nelson could be taller. There. B tier guys. All these guys make sense, like Steph, Jason Kidd, Walt Frazier, Jamal Murray, Luka, Jason Williams, Rafer, John Stockton, Darren Williams, Chauncey, JoJo, John Wall, De'Aaron, Michael Carter-Williams, Chris Paul, Jrue Holiday, Jared Jack, Markelle Fultz. All very well-rounded cards that fit the parameters of B tier and C tier. Super specialist guys. All of these guys do, you know, like I said, 2 or 3 things very well, but have some glaring problems with the card. Kemba Walker, great offensively. He can shoot really well. He can facilitate. He is pretty fast. But at the same time, he has 0 defensive badges, a small player build, and some people don't really like his jump shot. Russell Westbrook, great at everything, can't shoot. He cannot shoot that well at all, and he's an outdated card. Penny Hardaway cannot play defense really at all. His jump shot's a little bit slow. IT's great all around, but he's 5'11" or whatever, so not really helpful there. Gilbert Arenas, outdated, and some people don't like his jump shot. I think it's fine, but John Morant plays no defense, etc. I'm not going to go into every single card, but like I said, jump in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of the list itself, and, you know, who you would move up, who you would move down, etc. I will be doing shooting guards and small forwards tomorrow, and then on Tuesday I'll be doing power forward centers, so stay tuned for that. Comment down below if you want to see any of them live. I was thinking about doing one of the tiers as like a live stream instead, so if you guys are down for that, hey, whatever. And if you're here at the end of the video, man, you know, if you know any content creators that want to do a reaction to my list, that's cool, do that. Other than that, check my description for all my stuff. I appreciate all you guys for watching the videos, man, and shout out to everyone who came out to the stream last night. I will be doing a couple more of those this week, so anyways, peace out. Stay tuned for the rest of the series.